last thing you're ever going to see is a Stark smiling down at you as you die.
Arya Stark is a master of death on Game of Thrones. Her young life is shaped by it. Her father is executed, she can't save her other family members from gruesome murders, and she responds by learning the art of killing from the pros.
Who taught you how to do that?
No one.
As Arya comes into her own, she develops a real bloodlust.
Nothing makes you happy.
Lots of things make me happy.
Like what?
Killing Polliver, killing Rouge.
She becomes an agent of retribution.
Winter came for House Frey.
Before finally facing off with death itself and living through the decimation of King's Landing with a renewed sense of purpose. Arya's series-long Dance with Death teaches us many important lessons about how to cultivate resilience, study the things that hurt us, escape self-destructive hatred, own our individuality, and what it means, ultimately, to fight for the side of life. Before we go on, we want to talk about this video's sponsor. Skillshare is an online learning community where you can learn everything from video editing to business strategy, coding, or lucid dreaming. They offer 25,000 online classes from famous teachers at the top of their field. And right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers 2 months access to all their classes for free. So click the link in the description below to sign up now. Game of Thrones is a show permeated by death, and this is nowhere more apparent than in Arya's story. Her coming of age is an experience in watching her family be hunted down.
Her mother's dead, her father's dead, her brother's dead. Winterfell is a pile of rubble.
Think back to the scene in Season 1 where Ned is executed. Aside from him, the focus of this scene is Arya. We're made to feel her confusion and terror in this life-changing moment as her father, the strongest person she knows, is killed on a whim. So while before this she enjoys swordplay as a sport, what starts her down the road to becoming a killer is the realization that those in power are killing for the wrong reasons.
Bring me his head.
This is something that already deeply disturbed her when the Lannisters murdered her friend Micah.
The butcher's boy. My friend. He was 12 years old. He was unarmed.
But the death of her father crystallizes her sense of purpose, taking down the evil people who rule. In Season 2, Arya can't sleep because she's haunted by the memory of Ned's death. So Yoren tells her about how he used to repeat the name of his brother's killer until he finally got to slay the man.
Willem. A prayer, almost.
Yoren then sarcastically says,
That'll help you sleep, eh?
Yet as Arya goes on to adopt this practice as her own,
Joffrey. Cersei. Walder Frey.
it does help her sleep.
I can't sleep until I say the names.
Her kill list becomes a mantra that grants her peace and gives her fuel to keep going. It's a way for her to take back power in this world that so disempowered her.
So you're sad because you didn't get to kill Joffrey yourself? Is that it?
At least I could have been there to watch. I wanted to see the look in his eyes when he knew it was over.
Part of the sting of Ned's death is that Arya is so close, yet powerless to stop it. And this tragedy is repeated in Season 3 when she arrives moments too late to see her mother and her brother Robb at the Red Wedding.
It's too late.
Murder destroys Arya's family. It makes her feel alone in the world and closed off, guarding against intimacy. But as she becomes a killer, she takes control of this fatal force and is empowered by it. So she represents the power of using the thing that has hurt you as a weapon.
I know death. He's got many faces. I look forward to seeing this one.
In our own lives, our instinct might be to distance ourselves from the things that hurt us, but through the surviving Stark children, we see that we need to invite them in. Bran loses the use of his legs only to discover his abilities as a warg.
You'll never walk again, but you will fly.
Sansa's suffering makes her one of the smartest characters in the Seven Kingdoms.
She's the smartest person I've ever met.
And Arya turns the death that she can't escape into her own superpower.
The Red God is the one true God.
He's not my one true god.
Who's yours?
Death.
Arya, the student of death, enjoys the tutelage of a variety of teachers over the course of the show.
Sirio says every hurt is a lesson, and every lesson makes you better.
She soaks up her lessons like a sponge. But, like the best of students, she also thinks for herself, keeping what's useful and letting go of what she doesn't agree with. Arya's first teacher is Sirio Forel.
Who are you?
Your dancing master.
Warm, good-humored Sirio teaches Arya to enjoy swordplay as an art, favoring a fighting style that's all about grace.
Sirio
He says every swordsman should study cats. They're as quiet as shadows and as light as feathers.
His emphasis on delicacy and precision allows her to see the hidden advantage in her small size.
You are skinny. That is good. The target is small.
In their last moments together, as he defends himself against Sir Maren Trant with only a wooden sword, Sirio's gutsiness in the face of death stays with his student.
What do we say to the god of death?
Not today.
As we see when Melisandre calls on Sirio's words to prepare Arya for her own against all odds moment.
What do we say to the god of death?
Not today.
Next, Arya gets to know Jaqen H'ghar, one of the faceless men of Braavos.
Only death may pay for life.
As a reward for her saving his life, he offers to kill any 3 people. This experience is the first time she recognizes that death can be the solution to her problems.
But he's going to tell Tywin he's getting away. It has to be now.
In Season 3, when Arya is taken in by the Brotherhood without banners, they show her it's viable to take justice into one's own hands, which is exactly what she wants to do. But the men of the Brotherhood make moral concessions for the greater good, which Arya can't accept.
I'm a hostage, and you're selling me.
Don't think of it that way.
But it is that way.
So she rejects this aspect of their philosophy, doubling down on her determination not to compromise in her quest for justice. Arguably, her most formative teacher is her next captor and protector, the Hound, who shapes her into a killer.
That's where the heart is.
While she thinks she hates him for most of their travels together, her fellow lone wolf, the Hound, is one of the few people who can truly understand this girl.
I don't like crowds.
Me neither.
He too has been shaped by trauma and is fueled by anger.
Hate's as good a thing as any to keep a person going. Better than most.
Sometimes anger makes people do unfortunate things.
Sometimes fear makes them do unfortunate things. I'll go with anger.
The Hound gives Arya free rein to express her rage and act on her violent impulses.
Next time you're going to do something like that, tell me first.
Over time, she adopts his stone-cold veneer, masking the more sensitive person underneath.
You're a cold little bitch, aren't you? Guess that's why you're still alive.
Despite pretending he's only interested in her ransom, over time he becomes an unconventional father figure who looks out for her and shows love through action. In his impulse to protect her, he pushes her to adopt a realistic view of this gritty world.
I just understand the way things are. How many stars they got to behead before you figure it out?
But Arya rejects the Hound's total cynicism, as she still clings to the importance of harming only those who deserve it.
He took us in. He fed us. And
Aye, he took us in. He's a good man. His daughter makes a nice stew. And they'll both be dead come winter.
When Arya reunites with Jaqen at the House of Black and White in Season 5, the Faceless Men train her in the psychological skills of expert killing. She learns to lie.
I'm the youngest daughter of a great lord, Eddard Stark. He died in battle.
A lie.
To fight while blind, and to take faces. Yet Arya cannot accept the amorality that defines the Faceless Men. In Season 2, mysterious Jaqen seems almost like a genie who is granting wishes.
I can name anyone. And you'll kill him.
A man has said.
And this too-good-to-be-true experience is part of how Arya first falls for death, as an exciting way out she can use to feel better.
Show me how. I want to be able to do it too.
But as we learn more about the Faceless Men, we see the darker side of Jaqen's offer, and the work the Faceless Men do as assassins who don't ask questions. Arya herself can't become a contract killer.
Who wants her dead?
That does not matter.
What drives her as a killer is a deeply personal and emotional aim to avenge her loved ones.
A girl has taken a life. The wrong life.
Her first real kill is a crime of passion, brought on by hearing one of the Frey's soldiers bragging about the Red Wedding.
None of the Starks had much to say by the end of that meal.
I'll tell you what, though. The hardest thing was getting that wolf's head to stay on the body.
Arya can't let go of the fierce love that's at the heart of who she is.
He was my friend.
No, he wasn't. Didn't you listen to him?
He was no one.
But the biggest barrier between her and the Faceless Men is that she can't efface her strong sense of self.
Finally, a girl is no one.
A girl is Arya Stark of Winterfell.
As she reclaims Needle, the sword she couldn't bring herself to throw away and which reflects her own slim and dainty yet deadly personality, Arya leaves the Faceless Men armed with the formidable, practical know-how of killing. But she leaves behind their impersonal philosophy of death, which it never really seemed possible that she could adopt, given what she's lived through and the individual she is. On top of taking from all these teachers, Arya learns a thing or two from her enemies. When she's Tywin Lannister's cupbearer in Season 2, she gets insight into the mental skills that have made Tywin a seasoned general and ice-cold killer of masses. Tywin respects intelligence, which is why he takes an interest in Arya.
You're too smart for your own good. Has anyone told you that?
Yes.
He spends his days plotting from a tower, showing her that being smart, strategic, and thorough, and drawing on historical knowledge, is the way to win a war. He's extremely perceptive, as shown in how, unlike most others, he quickly picks up that Arya is a girl.
This one's a girl, you idiot. Dressed as a boy.
And a highborn one at that.
Low-born girls say, "My lord," not "my lord." If you're going to pose as a commoner, you should do it properly.
So Arya comes away from this experience understanding the importance of reading people to decipher what they're hiding, something she later becomes very adept at.
I'm scared the Northern Lords will read it. They wouldn't think much of Lady Sansa if they knew how she did Cersei's bidding.
Each of Arya's teachers helps her hone the skills she needs to become an expert killer. But even more importantly, their wide-ranging and nuanced relationships to death help her clarify what she truly feels and believes about the morality and purpose of killing.
You were the first person on my list, you know. For killing Syrio Forel, remember him?
Arya's style as a killer is very much a correction to the cavalier violence she witnesses in King's Landing. Her executions are precise, deeply thought out, and most of all, they have a sense of poetic justice.
Something wrong with your leg, boy?
Something wrong with your leg, boy.
She lulls House Frey into a false sense of security before murdering them, mirroring the way the Red Wedding violated Westeros's sacred guest right.
Slaughtered your guests after inviting them into your home.
She even makes Walder Frey feel the horror of having eaten his own children.
But they're already here, my lord.
Before slitting his throat, just as her mother Catelyn had to watch Robb murdered in front of her before her throat was cut. She kills Littlefinger with the knife that he used to start the War of the Five Kings.
You told our mother this knife belonged to Tyrion Lannister. But that was another one of your lies.
Arya reminds her victims of what they did before she kills them.
He told me me bloody with a stick.
So that they're thinking about their misdeeds when they die. In this world that is so lacking in justice, she becomes an agent of retribution, like a goddess of punishment visiting sinners.
He on your little list?
He can't be. I don't know his name.
What's your name?
Her lethal nature, guided by her strict individualistic moral code, might even remind us of Omar on The Wire, who likewise responds to Baltimore's drug kingpins destroying the community by inflicting his own justice.
Mr. Little, how does a man rob drug dealers for 8 or 9 years and live to tell about it?
Day to time, I suppose.
In the end, Arya could never have become a faceless man because they serve death, whom they call the many-faced god. But the contradiction of Arya is that she's a killer who fights for life. This is why it feels right that she's the one to take out the Night King. The embodiment of death could only be taken down by this girl who has danced with death her whole life, and come to understand it as no other character does.
For, God, I think it's probably 3 years now or something, we've known that it was going to be be Arya who delivers that fatal blow.
Arya's purpose is thrown into relief even more in the penultimate episode of the series, when Daenerys' rampage of King's Landing makes Arya confront the cost of giving into hatred. Arya has come here hell-bent on crossing a key name off her kill list.
I'm going to kill Queen Cersei.
But the Hound gives her one final lesson, urging her not to follow him in this important way.
You think you wanted revenge a long time? I've been after it all my life. And look at me. Look at me! You want to be like me?
So she turns back from making vengeance her life's purpose, and instead tries to protect the innocent civilians around her.
You have to keep moving.
The end of the episode shows her meeting another survivor of this apocalypse, a white horse. In the Bible's Book of Revelation, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse all have different horses, with Death riding a pale horse. So this scene could be getting at how Arya is Death, riding to deliver its divine judgment. The retribution she's now capable of delivering feels righteous, on a higher, more sacred level than personal revenge. She is violent justice embodied. From the beginning, Arya is a fierce individual.
You will marry a high lord and rule this castle. And your sons shall be knights and princes and lords.
No. That's not me.
She understands early that her nature is at odds with the unwritten rules of her society.
I was never going to be as good a lady as you. So I had to be something else.
Just listen to her recount this memory of her father watching her use a bow and arrow.
I knew what I was doing was against the rules. But he was smiling, so I knew it wasn't wrong. The rules were wrong.
So Arya develops an instinctive understanding that breaking certain rules is right, and through a mix of rebellion and self-determination, she writes her own rulebook, relying on her instincts as she goes.
If you only trust the people you grow up with, you won't make many allies.
That's all right. I don't need many allies.
The image of Arya with the white horse is also a symbol of survival. Just as this beautiful animal is somehow still standing, Arya, in spite of all she's endured, has miraculously escaped the fate of the all-consuming hatred that has poisoned so many around her, who can't stop themselves from continuing the cycle of suffering and rage. Arya's will to survive and her devotion to the side of life make her a beacon of hope on this death-saturated show, as awe-inspiring as this improbable white horse riding through the burning rubble. So this young woman is a model of resilience. When we're going through our hardest times, which probably don't equal what she's been through, we can learn from the enormous inner strength she draws on, how she trusts herself, saves herself, and doubles down on what she knows in her bones is true and just. Like Arya, we have to become masters of the painful things in our lives, until eventually we can beat them at their own game.
Sticking with the pointy end.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare, an online learning community we love, with over 25,000 classes taught by seasoned pros. Skillshare has a class on pretty much anything you could want. You can develop your creativity through a class on calligraphy, graphic design, or writing. You can learn to succeed in business with classes on how to make it as a freelancer, market a podcast, or become an Instagram influencer. You can use it to master new technology through classes on web design, coding, and data science. Or you can bring that extra flair into your lifestyle, sharpen your knife skills, learn papermaking, speak Spanish, or let Dan Liu, a documentary filmmaker and cinematographer, teach you how to create a short documentary film. Right now, Skillshare is offering our viewers 2 months access to all their classes for free. But that's only if you're one of the first 500 people to click the link in the description below. You don't want to miss this deal, so check it out today.